Welcome back to the Sam JW channel. Let's get this one out of the way quickly, shall we? Full time at Loftus Road, Queen's Park Rangers 2, Oxford United 0. So yes, it finishes Queen's Park Rangers 2, Oxford United 0. As we'll get into, there's a lot of similarities between this and the Watford game. I'm starting to get a bit concerned about the direction of our season, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Lineup. So, of course, Jamie Cumming starts in goal. Peter Kioso is returned as the right wing back. On the left hand side, we've got Greg Lee. In the middle, of course, Kieran Brown and Elliot Moore. The midfield too, it's very much a staggered midfield, as most of the time it is for Oxford United. That being Cameron Brannigan as the sixth, making his 300th appearance for Oxford United. No doubt he is a legend of this football club, and hopefully here's to another at least 100 more. I believe if he plays the majority of the game to the rest of the season, he will get inside the top 20, I believe it is, Oxford players for most played games in our history. Idris Omazuni was the 8 with Tyler Goodrum as the 10. Matt Phillips on the right hand side, Shomi Poheta on the left, and up front Mark Harris returned as the 9. So obviously, you know, we spoke about my preference would have been to see the continuation of Dane Scarlett in the 9. Matt Phillips is an interesting one because, especially in this game, his lack of pace we've talked about before, because he is at a more advanced age, his footballing brain is quicker than any player on the pitch, but it's the fact that his legs can't quite keep up with his brain. I think he'd be phenomenal as a 10, because he's got that ability on the ball. He's a relatively good passer, but it means he hasn't got to rely as much in his pace in the wide areas. But obviously we've got a fair few 10s, and for the minute anyway, not as many wide men. For the most part, I think this is a fairly... It's pretty much kind of what we come to expect of an Oxford United side. Obviously, we didn't play against Plymouth at the weekend, so it gave a couple of players a bit more time to kind of bounce back from knocks, or get some, you know, extra rest days in. If we look at Queen's Park Rangers, obviously Paul Nardi's an interesting one. Obviously, the Frenchman in goal was very highly rated at Monaco. Could never match the hype that was surrounding him. The fact they got Koki Sato on, I believe it's on a permanent transfer, is mad. This is a lad that's been playing the last 2 seasons with Sparta Rotterdam, the Eredivisie, and he got them, you know, into a Europa Conference League playoff spot, and he threw that in to come play in the Championship. Fair play. Obviously, he was on loan there with Sparta Rotterdam from Lommel. But it's still, I'm sure there would have been a chance to go back to the Eredivisie with Sparta Rotterdam, if not, you know, one of the sides higher up of that division, just because he showed for the past 2 seasons his quality in that division. Field and Varane are a very robust midfield pairing. And obviously we'll talk about Field because he scores 2 bastard goals. The management chart. So, QPR started the much better. It's a very mild burst that Football point out here, but for the most part, I'd say for the first thing it was like 20-25 minutes. QPR were on top. They had possession in our half. We struggled to get out of our 6-yard box. A lot of pressure being applied by QPR, and thankfully for us, they didn't create much quality. Same could be said then for we went the opposite way. Lot of possession of the ball. If we look at the first half stats, just shading possession, but not an awful lot being created by Oxford. Best chance really is there's a ball from I can't find it. It was so bad it didn't count as a chance. Ball's floated in from Matt Phillips, and it's tame. There was a lot of times where Matt Phillips was putting balls in the area and they weren't, they were just overshooting the box. Same was happening from corners. Our set piece delivery is, for the last kind of 2 or 3 games, it's been fine with Goodrum on set pieces. It's gone back to being utter diabolical against QPR yesterday. Just neither side showing any real quality. If we look at like I say, you can see majority of these shots are off target, only 4 shots and 3 respectively. As you can see, we're ever slightly better with the ball. 84 more passes, slightly better in terms of making sure they're accurate. But for the most part, these are 2 sides that I'd say for the most part in this game, 2 sides very much deserving to be in the bottom half of this championship. Massive lack of quality, a lot of sloppiness. We'll get onto sloppiness in a minute. So yeah, nothing really. A 0.17 for QPR, a 0.07 for Oxford expected goals. Just crap. It was a really, really boring first half. When you kind of take out of the lens of kind of being in the moment, at the ground in that away end or in the home section, in that moment you're kind of, this is a really entertaining game. I guarantee you, watching, I'll tell you, this was absolutely diabolical. No changes for either side at half time. Maybe we should have, because this is just crap. So this is the first goal from field. It's not dealt with on the right hand side, or on their right hand side, on our left hand side. Not dealt with by Greg Lee, by Idris El Mazouni. Shami Pwaheta doesn't do his bit, and it also comes down to Elliot Moore and Peter Kioso being beaten in the air. Balls whipped in, I believe, from Smith, is their number 11, and they're I'm gonna have to get his name, because Collie, this lad here, he rises highest, he beats Elliot Moore, he beats Peter Kioso in the air, heads it down, and field comes in and swipes home. 1-0 QPR, and yeah, it was really, really poor to concede that goal. Not as bad as the second one. Like I say, they were more clinical, they took their chances. Obviously, a lot of confidence in their belly, coming off the back of a 3-0 win at the weekend, and we just didn't have it in that second half. So slightly after their goal goes in, we see 2 tactical changes from Des Buckingham. Those being the introductions of Kyle Edwards and Ruben Rodriguez for Shemi Pwaheta and Matt Phillips. There is an awful lot of discourse going around on Oxford United Twitter about Shemi Pwaheta in particular. I will go back to what I said in the summer. He's so similar to when Owen Dale first arrived at this football club. He is raw pace with a lack of end product. It's not a new thing. You can see his output at Swansea last season when he was on. I think he was on loan there. I'm going to short-term deals. You can see it at his previous clubs. Lack of end product from Shami Pwaheta. He's all pace. Get in those areas. Try and bring his teammates into play. He was really poor, I thought. It was only before just before he was about to come off the edge, started taking on his man, which is maddening for a player who's clearly got the pace, and he has got that ability when he's dribbling to beat his man. He just doesn't do it often enough. It's a right decision to hook him, I think, and same with Matt Phillips. Like I said, he was struggling to beat Ashby. Koki Sato was getting back, and they were doubling up on Matt Phillips and really nullifying any kind of threat he brought. On comes Ruben, on comes Kyle Edwards. That meant that Tyler Goodrum goes to the left-hand side, Ruben Rodriguez sits in as the 10 behind Mark Harris, and Kyle Edwards out on the right-hand side. Instantly, we see that Kyle Edwards, obviously partly this is probably down to the fact that Kyle Edwards is trying to get himself a contract, because his contract expires in a couple of days. I think 2 weeks away from his contract expiring. He comes on it, he starts taking on his man, he looks dynamic, which is what Kyle Edwards has always looked, you know. He only a small amount of involvement in terms of, you know, goal contributions and overall match involvement for Kyle Edwards, but he always looks dynamite when he plays for us. Always looks like he can create. Obviously, he had that fabulous substitute performance against Luton early in the campaign, where he set up Ruben Rodriguez. He could have maybe set up Ruben literally minutes earlier with an attempted scorpion kick. Kyle's a player right up for it, and he was doing the thing, like I said, we wanted to do, which is run at his man, take him on. It didn't amount to much. I don't want to talk about the second one because it's just so bad. So in the stands, we were having a conversation, me and the lad next to me, and we were saying, look, you know, everyone complains about the passing out from the back, but the fact of the matter is, it's the foundation of Desi's system. It's the foundation of most modern football systems. Passing out from the back to build your moves, move the opposition around. At least that's meant to be the theory. You move your opposition around to create space that you can then penetrate with your wide men, or if you're more building through the midfield, to do it that way. This goal is the downside of passing out from the back. I think it comes from a goal kick after a pretty decent effort from QPR. Jamie Cumming plays it to Elliot Moore. Elliot Moore plays it on to Peter Kioso. Peter Kioso basically makes a complete mess of it. I think his second touch is too heavy, which leads it into the path of the QPR man. But he tried to come back inside with the pass instead of looking to go out wide, where Kyle Edwards was waiting. And yeah, get on the end of it. I'm not sure who the player was that passed it onto the field. It drives from just outside the area, and it's 2-0 with 20 minutes to go. And one or two of the Oxford fans start leaving. I mean, for the most part, we stuck around. You know, we always knew we were going to lose more games this season. We all knew we were going to lose more games. But it's the level of drop-off, I think, from the start of the campaign, which is a little bit worrying. But again, we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, that pretty much kills off the game. Because, let alone getting one, this Oxford side definitely didn't look capable of getting two. As you can see, we had the lion's share of the possession. But what QPR did really, really well is gave us a lot of time in the midfield area, in the midfield third, passing side to side, trying to find those openings, and they got in a very compact block, you know, level with the start of the 18-yard box. They were very, very very compact, like I say. They were also very good at doubling up on Oxford men. They would always commit two men to put the pressure on, force a mistake or force the man to go backwards. So credit to QPR for that. That is, you know, Cifuentes really well drilling his side. And, you know, the only shot we have is one from Gudrun, which it's a massive, massive mistake by Paul Nardi, but yet again, it's a mistake that Oxford don't punish. He's caught far too high up the pitches. Paul Nardi, it's around about... Tyler Gudrun picks the ball up, I'd say about 5 yards behind where he takes the shot. Nardi's caught where the shot is taken from Tyler Gudrun. He has to backpedal. Good covering from one of the QPR defenders. And yeah, Gudrun just fires well wide. Almost hitting the corner flag. Yeah, that was it. There was a decent ball. I think it was through from Kyle Edwards to Dane Scarlett. But he was kind of, as he would kind of, you know, as he's done a couple of times for Oxford, Dane Scarlett tries to adjust himself, and instead of trying to kind of cut it into the near post, he aims for the far post because there's more of a goal to aim at, which is a smart decision by a striker, but it's just by that time he tries to take the shots. QPR defence have got back, they've covered, and it comes to nothing. Ends up getting dispossessed. Yeah, this was an absolutely awful performance from Oxford. We'll quickly run through the player performance because, like I say, I want to talk about the concern I've got about where we are in the minute. Jamie Cumming, there's not an awful lot he can do about either goal. His distribution, his long distribution, was really poor in the second half. A lot of time aiming for Tyler Gudrun, the shortest player on the pitch, and it would get intercepted. But on the goals, on what he's there to try and prevent, there's not an awful lot he can do from either. It's well down on the floor, it's well in the corner from field. Yeah, not an awful lot he can do. Peter Kiosa, this is his worst performance since Coventry. I think Coventry might have been his previous worst performance. Yeah, just the sloppy mistake, getting caught far too high at the pitch when we eventually were looking for a goal back in this game. Caught far too high up and then gets hooked off with about 10 minutes ago. We had 9 minutes of added time at Loftus Road to go to a weird back three with Edwards and Dale as the wing backs, and those wide spaces. Yeah, really bad performance by Peter Kiosa. Elliot Moore, one of the rare times I've seen him get beat in the air, like we said, by Coley for the first goal. Overall, he was fine, but it's one of the rare, and obviously we're 2-0 down, I understand that, but this is one of the rare times that I've seen Elliot give up, and that was in the 90th minute. Now, I understand, 9 minutes out of time, all that kind of stuff, but it did seem in that 9 minutes of added time he was actively trying to give QPR another goal. That's the first time I've seen Elliot properly give up. He will always kind of give 100% for the full 90 minutes plus added time. Kieran Brown was relatively alright. I probably agree with Fotmob. He was probably our man of the match. He was the better of the two centre halves. Greg Lee obviously gets beat for the first goal. Didn't have an incredible first half to Greg Lee. Did make a pretty good couple challenges, and there was a kind of an inkling of he might do really well with Shami Poheta out on that left hand side in that first half. But yeah, it didn't work out at all well. Weak performance from Greg. Matt Phillips, like I said, poor delivery of his crosses. like I said, it's really annoying about Phillips because his footballing brain is exceptional. His legs have left him. What's really annoying is when we were doubling up, when we had Peter Kioso and Matt Phillips, there were some really lovely bits of movement, some really nice moves that we strung together, also including Tyler Goodrum. But it's again that end product that lets us down. And then second half, Ashby had him completely in his back pocket. Deserved to be hooked off. Shemi Poheta, we've already talked about his raw pace. Obviously he has had a decent amount of time out of contention with an injury. So the amount of time he had on the training pitch for Des to work his magic, like he has done with wingers in the past, has been limited. But Shemi's got to drastically improve. He's got to drastically improve because that was the worst performance of his Oxford United career. El Mazzuni came off with 20 minutes to go. Obviously, he's involved in the first goal we concede. In basically, we looked afraid to make a tackle at that point. Better in the first half. Really faded in the second. Cam. Not how I imagine, would have wanted his 300th Oxford United appearance to go. Look, Cam will always give 100% for this football club. He will always get stuck in. Obviously gets booked for his troubles. Probably maybe could have got booked a lot earlier. But look, Cam will always work his arse off, but there's only so much he can do when the rest of the side around is being a bit crap. He did also give the ball away a fair number of times to Brannigan. He's not done that for a long time in the sheer quantity that he did. Goodrum looked really good when combining in those rare moments with Peter Kioso and Matt Phillips down the right hand side. Obviously has our only shot of the second half. A bit like El Mazzuni started to fade, I think. And Mark Harris, look, we spoke about this before. Mark Harris is a player shot of confidence. He's running his arse off. He will always run his arse off, will Mark Harris. I don't know if this is something Des is asking to directly do, but there was a lot of times where we had Goodrum and Harris, and they were going the same way. Harris wasn't arcing his runs to be the man on the spot, especially when we were trying to fizz the ball through and we end up looping it over. It needs to be Johnny on the spot. In the 6-yard box. He's got the number 9 shirt. He is our number 9. I'm not sure why he's reverting back to Mark Harris from August to January of last season, where he's making those parallel runs with with the 10, and it means he's not in the right position to potentially have a goal scoring opportunity. Dane has to start in the next game. I don't think there's any argument about that. Every video we talk about Mark Harris, I get more and more disheartened for that, because I'm hearing in the stands, I'm hearing all of the slating that's going his way, and I'm sat there going, look, we said the same things last season with Mark Harris, and he ended up with 19 goals in all competitions. But this is also a lad that up until we brought in Will Volks was our most experienced player at championship level. Just thinking about that. Kieran had a fair bit of experience in the championship, but a lot of experience with Cardiff. Mark Harris, obviously, mostly as a sub. This is his most consistent run of starting championship games he's in his championship career as with Oxford United. Obviously been in and out with Dane, but even then he's been playing a lot of football, and he's just, like I say, he's making the same mistakes he did in League One. I really, really, really want him to prove everyone wrong, but he's got to shape up. Ruben and Kyle Edwards and Dane Scarlett did their absolute best. Owen Dale can fall into that category as well, and even probably McEachran. They all came into a poison situation. We were 1-0 down by the time that Ruben and Edwards came on. We were 2-0 down by the time that McEachran, Dane Scarlett and Owen Dale came on. None of them could do anything really to impact the situation we were in. It's gutting. It's absolutely gutting that we're in this situation. That's one of the most disheartening games I've been to in a while. Fortunately, I wasn't at the 5-0 loss to Bolton. But yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. Des interestingly came over, and it looked like he was apologising, not just for the performance, but I think admitting some of the mistakes, like waiting till the 70th minute to take off Mark Harris, starting the second half with Matt Phillips and Shemi Poiheta. I think he was apologising. He knows what this means. You can never question Des's commitment to this football club. He will always be an Oxford boy. He's the guy that brought us back to the Championship. I think only the third manager in our history to do so. I've said this elsewhere. Anyone calling for bucking him out is, in my opinion, an idiot. I'm seeing the same people that said it last year when fixtures got tough in December. I'm seeing it being the same people calling for Des out now that called for him to go when we lost to Bolton. And he got us promoted. And he started this season really, really well with a side mostly of players who have played at League One level last season. Des, much like John Mousinho, should not lose his job if we are relegated. John Mousinho shouldn't lose his job if Portsmouth are relegated, because they accomplished the goal of getting each respective side back into this level, and the reality is that, annoyingly, we were kind of joking about this on the way out of Loftus Road, I can see us being a bit of the League One to Championship Norwich yo-yo club. Bit too good for League One, not good enough for the Championship. Look, obviously it could all change for both sides, but that's the way I see it at the minute. There's so many games where we're getting performances aren't good enough. Obviously, like I said, still a game behind everyone else because the Plymouth game got called off. We've slowly dropped from 18th down to 20th, 1 point above the drop zone. It's gotten very, very squeaky bum time down there, hasn't it? Even the gap between us and Hull is 2 points. I'm starting to get quite concerned, because it's not so much about the results, because you can lose 3-0 convincingly to the side who are still currently top of the tree. They're still top of the Championship. That can happen. What doesn't help is the fact that the performances of late have been abysmal. Even when we beat Hull, that was a bad performance. They could have been, I said in that review, they could have been 1 or 2-0 up by the time we scored. We're lacking quality. We're lacking we've no longer got that surprise factor. I was hoping it was going to take at least until January, when we've played sides at least once, for us to lose that surprise factor, but it's gone. It's well and truly disappeared, that surprise factor, and the reality is that we are now well and truly in the relegation scrap we thought at the start of the season we might avoid. We're in it. Obviously, I know we've got, if we add on the game we're yet to play against Plymouth, we've got 26 games left of this championship. We're almost halfway through the campaign, and we've got 18 points from 19 games. And we've obviously, as we looked at, I think it was last video, we've got some massive games coming up. We've got Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. Then we've got Leeds away. Then we've got, I think it's Cardiff on Boxing Day, Plymouth on 2 days after that, or 3 days after that, and then on the 1st of January we go to the Den. I will be there. We're a fan base. We've followed our club down to the National League. It's not just a catchphrase to say, we'll follow you everywhere. We will. We have followed them everywhere. Some of our fan base are, with respect, old enough to remember when we weren't in the Football League, in the Oxford Counties League or the Southern Counties League, whichever one it was back in, before we were admitted to the EFL in the 60s. There are, people in our families that have followed us all over the country. Even some that have, followed this club overseas when we played in the Anglo-Italian Cup. Or, we're a loyal fan base. We will stick with this side. There's going to have to be some real resilience in this fan base, because God, it's about to get difficult. I'm already hearing it in the terraces. I've got horrible feelings. People are going to start to turn on this Oxford side if we don't get at least a handful of points. I said, beginning of the month, I was hoping for 12 points. Cardiff and Plymouth are, in my opinion, the only winnable games. Sheffield Wednesday look better than we are. Leeds are far better than we are. Millwall, obviously, when we play them on the 1st of January, we managed to get a point against them, but they wasted opportunities in that game. This is a really, really big couple of weeks for this football club, for our survival, hopefully, in the Championship. It's no one said it was going to be easy, this Championship, but the reality of just how tough it is, I think, has finally hit home with us. Let me know your thoughts on that performance against QPR. I'll see you for the review of the Sheffield Wednesday game, where I'm hoping, please lads, at least get a point. At least get a point. It's so dull we're asking for that at this point.